Mojo. It's the Disenfranchised Podcast. We're that podcast all about those franchises of one, those films that fancy themselves full-fledged franchises before falling flat on their face after the first film. I am your host, Stephen Foxworthy, a real American hero. And joining me, as always, he's out of his coma. He's going to be okay. It's my co-host, Brett Wright. Hey, Brett.
Hello, Stephen.
How we, buddy? I love you. I feel like it's been forever. It's been 2 weeks, but I feel like it's been forever. How you been, buddy?
I love you too. I
miss you, man. I miss you when you're not here.
I miss that. Look, I miss being here when I can't be here. But life always finds a way.
Doesn't it just?
Yeah.
And also joining us this week, Brett, it's the man with the itty bitty ditty bag. It's Tucker. Hey, Tucker.
COBRA! Hi. How's it going?
Not bad, man. How you doing?
I'm all right. I find the amount of times that they feel like they have to shout their various catchphrases during this movie a bit. You could cut about 30% off of that, and they'd be like, everything they do, they're like, "Go Joe!"
It wouldn't be a movie, man. It would not be a movie.
The guy's like, "Hey, man, I gotta hit the head. I'll be right back." And everybody's like, "Go Joe!" He's like, "No, I just have to go to the bathroom. It's not a big deal. Go Joe!" Okay, all right, fuck, whatever.
You left out the part where they have to talk to
Idiots.
everybody, using their first names. Never mind.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. It's like, yes, roadblock. Yes, whatever you say, roadblock.
Absolutely dial tone. What was that mainframe? God.
Yeah. You have to know their names, guys.
You have to know. Look, there is a
How
character
else
in
can
this
you
movie.
find the toys?
There's a character in this movie called Snow Job, and a character in this movie called Beachhead. And I'm just like, the 80s were a fucking wild time, guys. The 80s were fucking wild.
Hell yeah. We nope. That's a joke for later. That was a really good one. Man, I wish I could embarrass you on air, Steven, but I'll do it later off mic.
There's a guy, and then there's a guy who looks like a denim version of a leather daddy named Gung Ho. And what are we doing here, guys? What are we doing?
Selling toys.
Keep talking, I'm typing.
Yeah, I know. We can hear you. Like you're shaking your entire computer as you type. And as if you couldn't fucking figure it out based on that intro, what we're talking about. Brett, what are we talking about this week as the third installment of our 80s animation extravagation month?
I love you, Steven.
We joke because we love.
Nah,
It's
fuck
true.
you all.
I would tease you if I didn't like you, Steven.
I love you, buddy. Come on. I love you.
Oh, wow.
Tucker, cut all this out.
Okay, cut that. Got it. What were we talking about? Sorry.
The movie that we're talking about this week.
Yeah.
We are talking about G.I. Joe.
1987's G.I. Joe, the movie, directed
G.I.
by
Joe is there.
Don Jurwich, written by Ron Friedman and Roger Slifer, and starring, everybody. Fucking Charlie Adler, Jack Angel, Corey Burton, Francois Chow, Peter Cullen, Jennifer Darling, Brian Cummings, Dick Gaucher, Ed Gilbert, Don motherfucking Johnson in this movie.
Burgess Meredith is in this movie too, Steven.
Burgess Meredith, Rob Paulson playing the aforementioned Snow Job. Sergeant Slaughter as himself.
As Sergeant Slaughter. I love Sergeant Slaughter.
I love that
part about that later.
I'm sure. He was always my favorite Joe growing up.
Yes.
Also, there's a character
he
in
was
this.
on wrestling at the same time. Synergy, man.
And of course, Frank Welker is in this movie.
Well, yeah.
There's another character in this movie called Big Lob, which feels dirtier than it is, but
a lot of hidden innuendo here, I think.
I mean, just the horniest motherfuckers working at Hasbro in the 80s.
Channel their energy through Don Johnson in this movie.
Oh God!
Sexually harasses or assaults every woman that he comes across.
Walking HR violation, Lieutenant Falcon, the only Joe with an actual rank. Lieutenant Falcon.
Except for Sergeant Slaughter.
Okay, touche. But Falcon outranks Slaughter, but Slaughter's bossing him around like a motherfucker, so
Well, only enlisted men can be training instructors. You can't be an officer and be a training instructor. You have to be enlisted. Yeah.
I've never been in the military. My father was, my grandfather was, but I was not. So
you broke the tradition, man.
Too soft in the middle is.
That's all right. I took care of it for you. You can count my service as yours, Stephen.
I'm not going to do that for fear of pissing off everybody. Don't do that.
Thank you for your service.
No.
Stolen valor, baby.
No, it's not stolen. I'm giving it to him.
Gifted valor, baby.
Yes. Gifted valor, baby.
Yes.
What a cast! What a picture! Honestly, probably not to bury the lead, but probably the best one we've watched so far this month.
I didn't hate it.
No,
it was fine.
Perfectly fine.
Well, I probably liked it less than you guys did, but
I think for me, it's you remember in the Transformers episode when I was talking about how like since
Craven and Soulless it was.
Yeah, well, the way that Hollywood is, and the way that toys are, and the way that capitalism works, and all that stuff. Art has to marry business. They have to be in a relationship.
It is show business after all.
Transformers that's just all business. No art there. Now it was a good marriage.
It looks good.
The
animation looked good.
Fantastic, I thought. And like it's pretty okay. Like sure it's convoluted and it's stupid, but it's for kids, but it's not like a soul crushing like existential nightmare like Transformers was.
Part of that I think is that because based on what I've read about this movie, they're basically working on Transformers the movie and G.I. Joe the movie in tandem. And they actually got the idea of Optimus Prime dying in Transformers the movie from the fact that they killed off Duke in this movie, because Hasbro was going to retire the toy anyway. So they weren't going to have that action figure available. So they're just like, great, we can kill him off. We make him and Falcon family. So he's saving Falcon. Perfect. It works thematically. Like it's good. Story-wise, good. Works. But because of production delays, G.I. Joe was delayed and Transformers came out first. And people were so pissed off that Optimus Prime died that they backpedaled real fucking fast.
Yeah, when people took to the streets and started destroying local businesses because Optimus Prime died, Hasbro was like, maybe we keep Dutch.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll never forget the Transformers riots of 1987.
Yes. Hashtag never forget.
I wish we'd all been ready, you know.
I mean, I'm glad you got
a kick out of that one, Steven. That was for you.
I mean, yeah, of course it was. It's not for Brett. Brett doesn't know what that is.
Nope, sure don't.
It's an old Larry Norman song. You had to be a Churchy Joe to get that one. So.
Yeah, man.
Cool.
Church Joe.
Yeah.
What would the chaplain of the G.I. Joes be called?
Tabernacle.
Hey.
Oh, fuck.
I like that. That's good.
Or yeah. No, I fucking love that. Or Chaplain Tabernacle or something like that. But yeah, no, that's
love it.
But yeah, there is no chaplain on the G.I. Joes because the G.I. Joes are a godless organization.
No, they're not. Did you see the beginning of this movie? It felt like Team America. It was like 5 minutes of part of a Team America movie.
So my partner did not watch this one with me because she's like, there is nothing for me in this movie. And I was like, yeah, you're right. But she, I was texting her and I was like, this fucking movie begins with an elaborate musical number. Like there is an elaborate, and I was like, is this going to be a musical? Like My Little Pony, the movie from last week? Like, is this also going to be a musical? No, it's not a musical. But that opening number is pretty fucking phenomenal.
Well, it's just an extended version of the regular cartoon theme. Right. And I know we haven't got to the part where we explain like what our histories are with the movie yet.
That's coming.
But I do have a bit of a history with the G.I. Joe, so I'm familiar with that song, but I've never seen this movie and I've never heard this extended version. So when it started, it's like, okay.
COBRA.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, all right, yeah, okay.
You keep forgetting the la 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 la's at the end.
Oh yeah.
I love the fact that they say Cobra and then you get the guy in the background literally screaming Cobra like he's looking for Cobra and can't find him. Like, Cobra! Cobra! It's great. I love it. I love it so much. Yeah.
I thought it was great too. And like, I didn't realize that's what it was at first, but then like it kept going. Then all of a sudden they're talking about a real American hero. G.I. Joe is there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was way into it at that point.
Way that ends with Duke grabbing the American flag and jetpacking all the way up the Statue of Liberty. Perfect. Fucking perfect.
Rocketeer style.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. See our previous episode on the Rocketeer.
Yes.
Yeah, fucking incredible. Like, it's such a great opening, and it perfectly sets the scene and sets
really
the stage.
It sets the tone too. Like you see that and you're like, yeah, this is gonna be ridiculous. It's gonna be really stupid. It's definitely for children, but it might be entertaining.
Pure
this might
80s.
Just be something that I don't mind watching.
Pure 80s cheese.
The opening of this movie is nothing but just an extended toy commercial. What happened over
what the show
over the last
was.
2 weeks, guys? Did you become indoctrinated to capitalism? What happens? Like, this is the first 5 minutes of this movie Brett, is just the Transformers movie redone again. What are you talking about?
I understand that, Brett, but unlike the Transformers movie, this is good.
How is
it
any different,
hearing this song. Because I like hearing the song. It's a good song.
Okay.
And it's not, I feel like this film it at least has some sort of creative merit. I mean,
it's like they actually
gave a fucking shit.
They took the time to say what song would go good and how can we make the action that's happening on screen match up to the song we're going to pair with this movie, not what song can we license and just throw in here regardless of whether or not it fits.
Absolutely. Transformers was an executive's movie. G.I. Joe was just the whatever idiots they had working on this trying to sell toys. And that's way different. Way different.
And they also learned a lesson from My Little Pony, the movie, in My Little Pony. Perfect. Cut, print, no notes.
Nice.
You didn't listen to last week's episode, Brett, because that's all last week was just Tucker and I doing that for about an hour and a half.
I'm gone for a week, and what the fuck happened to this podcast?
This is why you can't miss, man. This is why you can't miss.
Nope. We go too far into the weeds when you're not here, man. You need to pull us out.
We really fucking do. Look, you get two guys who are known for tangents, and you leave them alone in a room together, and you wonder what happens when they come out the other side, like completely bedraggled.
Yeah, you love capitalism and are bronies now. Fantastic.
No, neither of those things are true. But they didn't.
What it sounds like to me. I'm just saying
they didn't kill off the entire previous line in order to make room for the new characters. They removed them from the main action of the film, sure, but they didn't kill them off completely, which is what the mistake that Transformers, which I think is again part of the reason why Transformers the movie feels far more craven than the last two movies that we've discussed, because it's clear, like, okay, old toy line gone, new toy line here. And whereas this is like, hey, we're supplementing what we already have with these great new characters that you're probably going to love. No.
Well, and now that you mention it, Stephen, it does kind of seem like not only just the whole not killing one of the main characters things, but it does seem like since this film was delayed, they learned a lot from Transformers, because this could have been the same kind of movie. And for all intents and purposes, probably should have been.
Mm-hmm.
But they made Transformers, then they saw it, and they were like, well, what if we did this, but like we actually tried to kind of make it good?
I feel like the only change they made was the 80-yard lines about Duke not dying.
Yeah.
Instead of he's gone,
it's
he's gone
out of nowhere
into a coma.
I'm pretty sure that like that scene before, there was no dialogue. It was just like kind of pulling away for the fade out at the end. And they're just like, oh, homeboy called and everybody's okay. It's cool. Okay.
It honestly reminded me, spoilers for a movie that came out in January. It reminded me of the end of Scream 6, where when Mindy hops off the ambulance is like, I was in the hospital. I got stabbed real bad. You thought I died. I didn't. Oh, by the way, Gail's okay too. Like, when you're just like, wait,
it's a throwaway
what?
line about I'm on a lot of drugs.
Right, which is why I'm so happy and chipper, even though I was stabbed almost to death.
Really deeply, yeah.
And by the way, the character that had a really moving death half an hour ago, she's fine. Like,
legacy
it felt,
character you thought we were killing? Yeah, no.
It felt like that, honestly, is what it felt like to me. Like, just a whole kind of like, oh, and by the way, because you notice no one's lips move for any of that. Like, he's gone into a coma.
Behind,
yeah. And then at the end when it's like, he's okay and he's out of the coma, that's all like from like way in the background. Like, yeah, it's all completely ADR'd in later. Like, they're like, because animation's expensive to change. We can't change the animation, so we just have to like throw jokes in or, you know, throw dialogue in to fix the shit that we broke. Because, you know, most people who get stabbed in the heart by a serpent staff are just go into a coma. That's a thing that happens when they get stabbed in the heart with a giant stick by a guy dressed as a snake.
I mean, look, I'm not a doctor, but that tracks.
Yeah, well, I mean, they may not have changed anything, but I do think that this movie is kind of the perfect, for me, kind of the response to Transformers, because it
feels that way.
It's a very similar film, but it's like they were like, yeah, but what if like we actually tried to like put like some creativity in this and make it, you know, look good and like not just like actually fun, you know?
Yeah.
And it was refreshing. Like I said, I don't really like it. I don't hate it, but I'm glad I watched it.
Yeah. It's not as craven as Transformers the movie. Again, I feel like they learned some lessons from the My Little Ponies. So this is the third of 3 films released by De Laurentiis Entertainment, Sunbow Productions, and Marvel Productions. Across the span of 1986 and 1987, all of which were a response to Care Bears the movie doing fucking gangbusters in 84.
I'm so mad we don't get to do that one. That's actually good, you guys.
That is an actually good one.
It is, yeah. I watched that a lot as a kid.
The movie is the shit.
Kind of slaps.
But we have not talked about our histories with the Joes. So Tucker, you inferred that you had one. So why don't you go first? What is your history with the Joes that are GIs?
I watched it on TV when I was a kid.
Cool.
That's it.
Cool story, bro.
I know. I may have had a couple of G.I. Joe figures, but I didn't really like collect the toys or anything. So as much as I liked the TV show, it wasn't working on me. I loved the TV show when I was a kid, like that and He-Man. Like before I got a little older and got into like Ghostbusters and Ninja Turtles, like He-Man and G.I. Joe was the shit. And also, like I said, the synergy with wrestling, because I was way into wrestling back when I was a youngster too.
That tracks.
And Sergeant Slaughter Sergeant Slaughter still is the shit. He's still Sergeant Slaughter.
Sergeant Slaughter was always my favorite Joe. Always my favorite Joe. So yeah. And part of it was because he was a real person that they just put into a cartoon. I was like, that fucking rules. And he can deliver dialogue like itty bitty ditty bag and make it sound fucking menacing as shit.
Yeah, dude.
So
mean sounding dude.
Good.
He doesn't sound like that in real life either. Like his voice sounds nothing like that. It just sounds like a regular dude.
It's almost like he's a performer, putting on a performance.
Almost like he's acting.
Yeah. Go figure.
Yeah.
Brett, what is your history with the G.I. Joes?
None.
None. Wow.
Yeah, none at all. Outside of Sergeant Slaughter, because I'm a wrestling fan. I mean, I love that wrestling. It was cool. I never really watched the G.I. Joe cartoon, though, because I knew he didn't really show up in it much, and I didn't really want to watch the cartoon for the rare appearances he did pop up in.
Now, so you were into wrestling. Did you watch the Hulk Hogan cartoon show?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tucker, you look confused. Did you not know about this show, that the show existed?
No,
Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling
pops up. No, I was aware of that, and I think even back then when I was that young, I had a 3-episode rule, and I don't think it passed the mustard.
Ooh.
Probably not. It probably doesn't hold up well.
Nope. No, I can't imagine. I cannot imagine.
My other history, though, Tucker, you might be the only one that knows this. So at the end of every G.I. Joe episode, there was the
PSA.
The PSA.
Yeah.
Do you remember E-Bomb's World on ye old internet?
Oh, yeah. I know E-Bomb's World.
Yeah,
it was
I
like
also
where all
know
the
E-Bomb.
funny videos were before YouTube existed.
Yeah,
Correct,
and there was that series of G.I. Joe PSAs that were dubbed over with ridiculous shit.
Oh, I do remember that. I don't remember any of them specifically, but I remember that concept for sure. I remember watching those for sure.
I just remember the pork chop sandwiches one. That's the one that I remember whenever I think about it.
I'm gonna have to see if those are on YouTube and put them on my watch later because
I'm sure they are.
I'm sure they are.
I have not thought about those since I saw them back in the day. So
I'm guessing
for that, Brett.
That's very similar to the people who overdubbed the X-Men cartoon with the "I'm the Juggernaut bitch." Is that a similar kind of thing?
Probably similar, yeah.
Do you not know?
It seemed like it was around the same time.
Do you not know about "I'm the Juggernaut bitch"?
Who are you asking?
Either of you?
Because I do.
Because I feel like it's silly to ask either of us, Steven.
I
feel like you wasted
man.
all of our times. You wasted our listeners' time, Steven. No, I'm
we
just kidding.
apologize.
I was
we
just asking
apologize
a
for
question.
Steven's question.
Was that too far, Steve? Did I tease you too much, Steven? I do that sometimes with people I like. I tease them too much, and I accidentally hurt their feelings, and I feel bad, so I have to pull back.
I'm so tired.
That's what it is.
I'm so tired.
I do that though, you guys. I said doo-doo. I do that though. So if I ever tease you guys, I know. If I ever tease you guys too hard, just holler at your boy because I don't mean to. I just get excited and I like to tease people. So
I'll just start flipping you off. That's how that'll work.
You do that all the time anyway.
That's true. I actually, so I watched a couple episodes of the show. I wasn't like a religious watcher of the show by any stretch of the imagination. I think I had an action figure that was given to me by a friend of mine. Like I didn't buy it. It was not purchased for me. My dad loved the old school G.I. Joes from like the 40s and the 50s.
The tall boys.
Yeah, the one's basically based on the Barbie model that Hasbro purchased from Kenner so that they could make their, military Barbies. I actually bought him one for like, there was an anniversary when I was a teenager. I bought him one for like Christmas or something, just the Navy one, because my dad, that was his branch of the service, was the Navy.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I bought him that. And they even had the misprint like thumbnail on the other side of the thumb, which was kind of the thing that G.I. Joe's had. But my main exposure to G.I. Joe's was actually this movie, which I watched at a slumber party when I was in like 3rd or 4th grade. We went to my buddy James's house and he had this movie and we put it on and watched it. And it was, for a 3rd grader, fucking slapped. Like it was so much fun. And that was what cemented Sergeant Slaughter as my favorite G.I. Joe. Like I always like again, because he was a real person, but that movie, because he kicks so much ass in this movie. So much ass in this movie. And yeah, he's fucking great. And I dug Sergeant. I was like, where's Sergeant Slaughter? Where's Sergeant Slaughter? And then he came into the movie and I was just like, all right, I like this movie now. So yeah, so of the movies that we've seen this month, so far, this is the first that I've actually seen. So nice. Right. Cool. I think it sounds like I was the only one who's seen this previously. So
Yep.
Yeah. I haven't seen any of these before. None of the movies we're watching this month have I seen before in my entire life.
Right on. Well, in that case, let's talk the plot of this movie before we start digging in even more into this movie.
Yes, let's.
So Brett is gonna.
I was gonna say, don't let me forget to talk about Christopher Collins because I did a deep dive on him.
Okay.
And I found some interesting things. So don't let me forget that. Plot.
So the plot in 60 seconds is the part of the show where we, at the behest of the D6 of Destiny, will be recounting the plot. One of us will be recounting the plot of this film, G.I. Joe: the movie from 1987, in 60 seconds or less, or your podcast is free. That's a joke I haven't broken out in a while. Brett will assign us the what sides we are, and then he will roll the D6 of Destiny, and the D6 of Destiny will decide which of us will be recounting the plot. Brett, who is what?
I usually assign them by how much each of us are into this, so I'll be 1 and 2. Tucker will be 3 and 4. 5 and 6 will be you, Steven.
Okay.
Let's go. And that is a 5, ladies and gentlemen.
Damn it.
Finally, it's not me. It's been me like the last 35,000 times.
Yeah, welcome to my last year, bud.
Okay.
And Brett's
We've
first
all
year.
had our streaks. I was going to say, Brett was having a losing streak for a long-ass time.
I was going to say,
episodes.
I was going to say, I don't know if my streak ended up beating Brett's or not. Like, I've not actually gone through the back catalog to see. I was going to do that for like our 100th episode, but yeah.
I might as well have just done it every week at that point. Mm-hmm. No need to flip the coin anymore. Brett's going to do it.
I mean, yeah. Although it did lead to some very great moments.
It did.
Like That's the Speed Racer episode, like the Three Musketeers episode. Those are some of my, honestly, those two are probably my favorite plot in 60 seconds.
I mean, yeah, you can't go wrong, really.
No, not at all.
If only we could market those.
Really? Yeah.
Do a supercut. Put it on YouTube.
That'd be fun.
Supercut, do it on YouTube.
We could, you know what we could do? That we could do that, or we could do release on Patreon a top 10, a top 10 plot in 60s.
Or we could do both.
Or we could do both. Porque no los dos.
What do you want to see, listeners? Let us know on social media.
Yeah, we are at Disenfranched Pod on pretty much everything. And you can also find us on, you can also shoot us an email, disenfranchedpod@gmail.com.
Did you guys know we had a Patreon?
Wait,
that's crazy.
What?
Yeah.
No, we don't. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Did you know?
Real simple, one tier, $5.
But did you know?
Multiple tiers.
But did you know, Tucker, that this month you can actually sign up for a 7-day free trial of our Patreon, so you can see what it's all about without having to pay any money. 7 days for a full week.
And here's the thing: you couldn't even get through like a 10th of the content that's on there in a week.
No, it's
so you get that free trial. Your week is full. Just set aside your whole week because there's so much shit on there, and not shit like bad, but like shit, just like as another word for stuff.
There's a lot of stuff. Like it's probably close to 20 episodes of Disenfranchised, like 7 or 8 episodes of Unenfranchised, 4 or 5 episodes of Uppsala Video Game Corner.
Got 3 on Christianity Corner.
3 on the Christianity Corner, the one that drives all the people away.
But yes, we always have to clarify that's about making fun of it, not really, enjoying it. Except maybe Steven a little bit, but that's
I mean, it's most of my life. Can't really turn off who I am, guys.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's something that promotes any particular religion specifically.
No, we would never.
We're just talking about theology and how it relates to certain films, man. It ain't that deep.
Yeah,
I'm a godless heathen, man. We're not trying to push anything on you. Chill
out. Both
out.
You guys are. Yeah, it's fine.
Calm down.
It's all good. But yeah, so someone got 60 seconds on the clock so I can do this fucking plot.
Oh yeah, that's the thing we were doing.
Before you do that, what would you type into the address bar of a web browser to get to our Patreon, Steven?
Maybe patreon.com/disenfranchedpod.
Okay, I'm typing that in right now. I'm going to subscribe, you guys.
Cool way to do that. Plan 60 seconds. Steven, go.
Oh, fuck. There's G.I. Joes, and they're fighting against Cobra, who's evil. Apparently, there's a struggle for power at the top of Cobra, and Cobra Commander and Serpentor are like fighting for power, and Serpentor is like the rightful leader, and he gets like kidnapped by the Joes, but they bust him out. And then while he's apparently like Cobra Commander gets turned into a snake, a bunch of G.I. Joes get captured by Cobra, so they have to bring in the recruits. One of the guys is Lieutenant Falcon, who's a walking HR violation / world-class fuck-up, and also Duke's half-brother. So they send him off to Sergeant Slaughter, who whips him into shape. There's an entire underground Cobra empire called Cobra Law, which is the worst fucking name ever, ruled over by Spider Burgess Meredith. And it all leads to this giant showdown. They need this thing called the BET, Black Entertainment Television, to like defeat the world. And the G.I. Joes have it. They need it. They fight. Duke gets stabbed. He goes into a coma.
That's the game.
Joes win. Duke survives. Game over.
Do you guys remember when Homeboy got stabbed in the eye? Like straight in the face? Do you remember that part? And like they kind of moved the camera. They went somewhere else with it, but it was like And guy's like, right here, you can stab me right here. He's like, and then like it goes through. That's not what happened at all, but that was my interpretation.
Right. No. I mean, they choreograph it pretty hard.
Was that the snake guy's character? Was that Burgess Meredith? They got stabbed in the eye.
Probably. Because he had that really funky, weird eye.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He had that like robot cyborg. He's like a cyborg alien spider thing.
I'm sure that was an homage to Burgess Meredith's classic Twilight Zone episode where he breaks his glasses.
Or maybe his role as the Penguin, because he's always wearing a monocle in Batman 66. So
that's true.
Yeah. What a great show.
Burgess Meredith is my homeboy, you guys.
Burgess Meredith. What a voice. What an actor. For someone, I mean, again, for someone who was grandfathered into the Rocky franchise, Burgess fucking Meredith, man. Mm-hmm. Eat lightning, crap thunder, baby. Absolutely.
That is my favorite episode of the Twilight Zone. So
same.
It's a good one.
Big fat same. Absolutely.
I like an occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge. Anyway,
that a lot of people love that one. Yeah.
I liked the show. I read the short story in high school, and then I saw that, and I thought it was cool that instead of like actually making a Twilight Zone episode, Robert Serling was like, "There's this short French film that would fit really well here. Let's see if we can get that." He was like showcasing foreign short films on the Twilight Zone.
Was that before or after he changed his name from Robert to Rod?
Same thing.
Is it?
Hey, a D is a backwards B. They're the same thing.
Is it though? So
look, when
Rod is short for Rodert.
Could be, but look, Steven, when I turn this way, am I the same person as I am when I turn this way?
You see that the difference is you're not language. You're a human being. And the symbols that we assign to things in order to give them meaning.
Holes in my argument. Damn you, Steven.
Matter.
Well then, you win.
What the hell are we even doing here, guys?
Doesn't matter.
I'm talking about this movie for some awful reason.
G.I. Joe is there.
Because they're there, Brett. And now that you've... Fuck yeah. So now... The funny thing is that Rod Freeman, the guy who created this show... Is it Rod or Rob? See, watch me give you such shit and then do this fuck up the same. It doesn't
matter. You know
thing.
what I would say?
You know what,
Steven? It doesn't matter.
It's Ron. I was way off both ways.
Wow, you fucked it up twice.
I fucked it up so bad.
That's okay. You know what, Steven? Same thing.
It's not. Tucker, we just went through this. It's not. I'm so fucking tired.
We have to hold ourselves to a standard here in this podcast, Tucker. What are you doing?
Do we though?
People look to us, Tucker. Out of all the sources that exist on the internet, people turn to us for their news.
Straight talk, facts, information.
I just thought that they thought we were dumb and it was funny.
Ron Friedman, the guy who kind of created the show, he says, "I'm a liberal and always was, so it made sense that the Joes would be too," which is really funny when you consider that this show came out in the 80s. And was able to do what it was able to do because of Reagan's horrible capitalist screeds. So yeah, you get this weirdly left-leaning military organization that just doesn't make a lot of sense on paper.
Really fucking loves America. God damn.
This guy sounds like
took a rocket pack to the top of the Statue of Liberty with the American fucking flag.
He sounds
with
like
fireworks everywhere.
Excuse me.
We were trying to make jokes. Tucker, excuse us.
Mine was better, but you'll never hear it now because
Paul Verhoeven?
I've started it 1,000 times. I feel like the creator of the G.I. Joe show is like Paul Verhoeven, but just on paper. Like he's the bark, but he doesn't have the bite because this is military propaganda from top to bottom.
I mean, it did a lot. It did a lot for military service among this generation, like for people our age. Like it did a lot for and maybe a slightly older. It did a lot for military recruitment for that age.
I'd say for a couple generations.
Yeah,
G.I. Joe's been around for a while. And it's not fucking going anywhere. Had those 2 live action movies. The first one did pretty okay.
3 enough if you count the Snake Eyes spinoff.
Oh, that's right. Oh God,
I'd forgotten about that. That's rad.
I had also forgotten. We're gonna have to cover that at some point. That's not getting a sequel. They wanted it to. It's not gonna.
Now, since that's a spinoff, it would be a main feed or unenfranchised?
That'd be a main feed. If we wanted to do the unenfranchised, we could do the Retaliation, which is one of a long line of sequels to movies that they decided to add The Rock to in order to get a bigger box office. It's Journey to the Mysterious Island. It's Fast Five. I think there's at least one more that I'm forgetting.
He was in the first Journey to the Center of the Earth.
No, he wasn't.
Okay. Anyway, I've never seen any of those G.I. Joe movies. I really don't have any desire to, but actually to cover them on the podcast sounds pretty fun.
Yeah, they're probably stupid, dumb action movies.
Yeah. And sometimes there's a time and a place.
Mm-hmm.
This feels like the time and the place, boys.
This must be the place.
Yeah.
There are a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 credited actors in the first Journey to the Center of the Earth. None of them is named Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Really? I'm thinking of the Witch Mountain remake they did, aren't I?
I'm thinking either of that or of The Mummy 2.
I'm thinking of Witch Mountain because he was in the first one and the second one.
Okay.
I feel like they came out around the same time. Like the font was similar on the poster, you know.
Probably. Look, Journey 2 is a movie that I don't think anyone remembers exists, but it does. So
much like a lot of the Rock's films.
Right. I mean, we could probably do a Rock month at some point. We've covered 2 of his films on this podcast already.
So
Baywatch
would we do
and Rampage.
And for unenfranchised, we'd do Be Cool.
We could do either Be Cool,
which is my favorite performance of his because he plays a gay actor.
Yeah, he's actually fantastic. Really good.
He's hilarious.
He's actually
hilarious in that movie.
Doing something in that movie.
He shows some range in that movie. It's kind of amazing.
It's like back when he was trying to prove that he could act, as opposed to now where he's just like, I'm the biggest star in the world. No one fucking cares if I can act.
He's comfortable, man. He's comfortable. You know.
And yeah, we do that, or we could do Journey to the Mysterious Island.
Well, I want a reason to watch Be Cool again because it's certainly not to see Uma
G.I.
Thurman.
Joe Retaliation. We could do that too. But yeah,
G.I. Joe is there.
But yeah, what was I saying? I don't know.
I think you were saying COBRA.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I was saying.
That's what it was. Yeah,
that's what it was.
Yeah.
Oh
with an
my
ellipses God. And then transition to.
So G.I. Joe as a franchise again starts in the 40s and 50s with Hasbro buying the model for Ken from Barbie and basically creating military, like Barbie sized, not a doll, it's an action figure was the tagline there to make boys okay with buying dolls. And those fell out of favor around the 70s because of this little thing called Vietnam. Weird, I know. Vietnam, the war in fucking Nam. There is. He liked to say the F word. He liked to say the F word a lot. They tried to keep the brand around, like to change it up a little bit here and there. And then Star Wars came along and just fucking bodied everything everyone else was doing. Mattel, Hasbro. So everyone else is now playing catch up with Kenner, who's decided it was this tiny little toy company that didn't know shit about shit. And now all of a sudden they are the dominant force in toys and everyone else is just struggling to catch up. So with the rising cost of oil, petroleum, which is used to make plastic, they have to kind of reconfigure because they can't do the full 12-inch figures anymore. So they scale it down to the 3 3/4 inch figures that we all know and love from our childhoods.
Which is too far the other way. That was why I didn't buy G.I. Joe toys, because they weren't action figure size. They were like so tiny. They were like Star Wars figure size.
The thing
I town with that shit.
The thing I simultaneously loved and hated is that if you pulled, they were so so many points of articulation. There were 2 separate pieces, and they were held together by like a rubber band, like a nylon band, and you could snap that bitch, and you would have a broken toy.
And that was your favorite part, is that you could break it easily?
Correct.
Cool.
Because then if your mom had a rubber band and was very careful, she could probably put it back together.
So you could just go off and break it again.
Yep.
Because it's your favorite part.
Yep.
Nice.
That's a real interesting commentary on the state of the military in America, I guess.
Yeah. It's got real heavy there for a second. It all just hit me at once.
So, and again, because of the 80s got a 80. They're like, well, how do we sell this toy? At the time, before the de-legislation of marketing, ways to market to children, you couldn't have a television show to sell toys, but you could have one to promote the comics. And so there was a partnership that Hasbro made with Marvel. Marvel would write the comics, and then the show would promote the comics, and the comics would promote the toys, which is the fun little loophole that made G.I. Joe like absolutely. You guys are both tapping your foreheads. It's fucking stereo in here.
Look at the big brain on Brett.
So that's how you get around that. And again, it led because G.I. Joes were huge in the 80s, like massive. And so they released the TV show. The TV show is insanely popular. And they wept for there were no more worlds to conquer. But wait, there's the silver screen. Spurred on by Care Bears of the movie, they decide, hey, let's release all of these movies within the span of a year. And so between I think it's like a year and a half. So My Little Pony and Transformers get released in 86. This gets released in 87. It was supposed to be a theatrical release, but because of how poorly My Little Pony and Transformers did the year before, they pushed it to direct to video, and then they did air it on TV first as an actual feature-length block, and then as a 5-part miniseries on the show.
And that's a shame because I think this one would have done well. I think this one would have done well in the box office. At least would have returned a little bit of a profit.
Yeah, it would have at least done better. But they got cold feet, and then they also scrapped the in development Gem and the Holograms movie that they had planned.
Which is a damn shame, because if you saw that one that came out in like 2016,
which we can cover on this podcast one day.
Let's do it. I need to take a big shit sometime soon.
Truly outrageous.
Truly, truly, truly outrageous. Glamour, glitter, fashion, fame. It's all there. You guys know I love TV theme songs, right?
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, so
is that a thing that's come up on this podcast before?
I think so, once or twice.
Yeah. But yeah. At any rate, so yeah, that's kind of the history around this one. It did pretty well on home video. So all the elements from this movie then get folded into the second season of the show, which comes out immediately after this movie. And as fans are getting older, they kind of bristle at the sci-fi elements. And so it only lasts one more season after this movie comes out, and they're kind of done. They reboot it, they reference the movie, and then they move on. And then they start dumbing it down for kids a little more as the audience, as people age out of it, they need to reappeal to kids. Ninja Turtles becomes big. So then they start to become, more ninja focused. It's, Snake Eyes becomes a much more prominent part of the team at that point. And they, it's kind of one of those, we're chasing the trends now, as opposed to we're the ones that set the trends. Now we're chasing whatever the current hot thing is to try to capitalize on people's love of that, which I think Transformers also does a lot.
It's not the side of that you want to be on.
No, absolutely
not. No, cool episode, boys. See you guys next week.
If you do what you do and you do it well, the right people will find it. And maybe they will, maybe they won't. Who knows? But yeah. So that's.
had I known they leaned more into the sci-fi elements later, I might have actually watched it as a kid. But
Cobra La was like a placeholder name. They just kind of stuck that in, obviously a reference to Shangri-La. They're like, I don't know, we can change this later. This is fine. But the Hasbro executives were like, this fucking rips. Let's do this. And that became the name, and it fucking sucks out loud. I hate the name Cobra La.
I really love when they first introduced the dude from Cobra La, and they just got done telling Cobra Commander how much he sucks.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was one of my favorite scenes in the movie, because all the villains in those 80s cartoons were comically incompetent. But they didn't always get called out, and they just straight up called, like, his colleagues and his boss are like, "Yeah, dude, you kind of suck, and we're not sure why you're here."
He's got some real Starscream energy, like the same kind of like lackey to the big boss, but notoriously a fuck up and kind of a coward.
He's got Shredder energy.
Yeah,
87 Turtle Shredder energy for sure.
For sure. So yeah, but I love that voice. That voice is fucking iconic. It
sounds so painful. It hurts every time I hear it. Oh.
I don't know how you do that and don't shred your vocal cords. I don't know how you do that. But
Christopher Collins. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No,
I would say Christopher Collins, R.I.P. By the way, he did die in 1994.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, he had a medical issue. But he was in a lot of stuff, and the one thing I thought was very interesting that he was in is there's a TV show that's been going the rounds on all the Lost Media channels on YouTube called King Koopa's Cool Cartoons.
Okay.
Where a human being dresses up in a Bowser from Mario costume and has a live action show where he shows cartoons to children. And our boy, Christopher Collins, he was King Koopa in that show.
Hell yeah.
He was in a lot of other stuff. I mean,
I'm looking at his filmography here, and it's really insane.
And voice work. He started out as a stand-up comedian. And he was doing some acting, got into voice work, continued doing live action acting. He has a pretty extensive resume. He's in just about anything that you can imagine.
He was, you know why Cobra Commander has big Starscream energy? Because Christopher Collins is the voice of Starscream.
Yeah, there's that.
I thought they sounded similar. Yeah,
that's why he's like
4 different characters in this.
He's also the voice of Dr. Claw on Inspector Gadget.
Yes, he is. He was also the original voice of Mr. Burns in Simpsons, as well as he was not just Mr. Burns. What else was he? Let me look real quick. Because he died
in 94, right?
Yeah. And so he was like the first 4 episodes of The Simpsons. He did there was a couple others, but mainly Mr. Burns. And then he died, and so what's his nuts? Not Harry Shearer. It is Harry Shearer?
Harry Shearer is the one who does the voice of Mr. Burns, yeah.
Yeah, he took over. I get him and Hank Azaria, not them physically. I can tell them physically apart very well, but their voice work on The Simpsons, it blends for me. But yeah, he was the original Mr. Burns.
He's only on 4 episodes of The Simpsons, actually.
That's what I'm saying. He died. He recorded 4 episodes and straight up croaked. That was it.
So, yeah, that's a big old fucking bummer. But, yeah.
I just thought that there was a lot of interesting stuff to say about him, and I'm glad we were able to talk about him.
Well, he died in 94, but he worked on The Simpsons up through only 1990, so there may have been something else going on there.
I don't know.
Neither do I.
I don't know. Once again, you've poked holes in my story, Steven.
Sorry, man.
You made me look like an asshole, Steven.
No,
I don't need any help with that. Yeah, I didn't need any help with that. You're right.
You did a good job on your own there, buddy.
You know what? I was doing karaoke Tuesday night, killing it as usual. And I realized why I'm so good at karaoke. It's because karaoke is all about going up there and acting like a fucking idiot.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I make looking like a fucking idiot look good.
I mean, you've been doing it long enough, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I do it in a way that's not off-putting, which is rare.
That hard to do.
So, yeah, I figured that out about myself this weekend or this Tuesday.
Right on.
Good stuff.
Right on. What songs do you? What's your go-to karaoke song, Tucker?
My go-to, I have 3. They are Sylvia's Mother by Dr. Hook. Parents Just Don't Understand by DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, and No Diggity by Blackstreet.
Nice. Mine is David Lee Roth, Just a Gigolo, since you asked.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
We got to go karaoke together, friend.
That would be sweet.
It'll be amazing. You're invited too, Brett.
I don't have a go-to karaoke song because I've never done it because I'd be way too anxious. So
yes,
my anxiety would never.
I was gonna say that kind of track. I've also done.
That's why you get drunk, Brett.
Yeah.
I almost got a date at a bar once because I sang "Somebody to Love" by Queen in a bar one time. So
I thought you meant Jefferson Airplane, "Somebody to Love."
No,
Jim Carrey style from The Cable Guy.
Oh, that's what I thought too.
You might recognize this song is performed by Jefferson Airplane.
For a little documentary called Gimme Shelter.
A little documentary called Gimme Shelter about the Rolling Stones and their Nightmare at Altamont, etc., etc. That night, the Oakland chapter of the Hells Angels had their way. Tonight it's my turn. Jesus, Steven, can we move on?
Let's move on, because I wanted to comment how the main villain of this movie's overarching plot is the same as King Koopa from the Mario Brothers movie.
Which one?
You mean Globulus?
Yeah, Globulus. Yeah,
his name is Globulus, guys.
Well, it's
real gross. I wonder what that implies. Like,
I don't want to think about it, quite frankly.
Yeah, no,
must be his birthday.
Same plot. Same plot. Real annoyed that humans took over instead of his species, so wants to de-evolve all the humans. It's the exact same plot.
It is.
That is the live action Mario. That's
wow.
Wild.
Going back to our very first episode there. Right on.
For some reason, it devolves humans into weird monster lizard people and not monkeys. I'm not real sure.
That's what happens to Cobra Commander. They turn him into a fucking snake.
Well, in the Marios, Dino Hatton was like a different dimension where humans had evolved from lizards. Mm-hmm. So, well, no, that still doesn't make sense. Never mind. Fuck it. That movie's stupid. Who cares?
They go through
looks great.
They go into Manhattan at one point and they shoot the dude and monkey. That's where that comes from. So
yeah.
Dennis Hopper pointing at the guy and going monkey. Yeah. It's great. We love it. We stand a legend. Dennis Hopper, R.I.P.
Best Dennis Hopper performance?
Outside of Land of the Dead, maybe.
I was going to say, tell me you haven't seen Blue Velvet without telling me you haven't seen Blue Velvet.
I mean...
No, I'm totally joking. I would never... And nobody's performance in Mario Brothers movie is a good one. So...
The only way
that's... Blue Velvet, it scares me.
Blue Velvet's so good. The only way you can think that... The only way that any of those performances in the Mario Brothers movie could be someone's best performance is if that was the only movie they were ever in.
True.
Like, if that's the only thing you ever did, then that's probably your best performance. But
good job.
I mean, I don't actually know that I'm thinking about it. They played the Iggy and Spike, those two guys. I forget.
Fisher Stevens and we just talked about him in Howard the Duck. Yeah.
Yes. I never remember that actor names. I'm bad with actor names, but
Fisher Stevens is one of them.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I feel like they were delivering kind of what they were there for. That's kind of what those actors were kind of known for around then. They were really good. I wouldn't say it was their best performance. I would say it's on par with pretty much anything else that they've
Richard
done.
Edson is the other actor's name. I just looked that up.
Except when Fisher Stevens did Brownface for Short Circuit.
Correct.
Fisher Stevens, though, recently in Succession, though, right? That's Fisher Stevens?
And yeah, that is, in fact, Fisher Stevens playing Hugo, and he fucking ruled. Succession, good show.
Also,
finally
in
finished it.
A second season episode of Always Sunny, he's in
probably.
As well.
Yeah, that tracks.
Is it really bad that whenever I see him, I'm like, oh, that's a dude from Super Mario Brothers. That's probably not what I should be doing. That's probably not what I should be doing.
He's done so many other things, though.
Yeah, that's what I recognize him from. So.
Like Short Circuit.
Short Circuit is what I know him from the most, and as racist as that is in hindsight, he's so fucking good in those movies.
He's in the new Wes Anderson movie. If you're a Wes Anderson fan, he's in Asteroid City. He plays a character called Detective Number 1. He was also apparently in The French Dispatch, and apparently he's like in tight with Wes Anderson because he's in Isle of Dogs too. I'm just scrolling through here.
He's part of that group now. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, good for him. I'm glad he's getting work.
He's got the look. He's got the look for it, especially nowadays.
And he will also be in a future episode of this podcast, One for the Money, when we talk about that. So
what's that? I don't even know what the fuck that is.
It's based on a series of books. It stars Katherine Heigl. Stephanie Plum is the name of the main character. Janet Ivanovich is the author. It was supposed to kick off a franchise based on that entire series, and it didn't. So yeah, we can cover it.
You just said it like it was something that I was supposed to know and be excited about, but I've never ever heard of that in my entire life.
Someone out there has heard of it and is excited about it. It might not be you guys, but someone out there probably is. The only reason I even know about that is because I worked at a bookstore for many years. So
yes, you did.
When those books were coming out, so people bought them all the fucking time. And nice. I sold them to those people who bought them all the fucking time. So I sold them all the fucking time.
Books are tight, yeah.
Books are good. If you want to know what book I've been reading lately, head on over to patreon.com/disenfranchpod and listen to the upcoming episode of What Are We Watching? Where we talk about what media we've been consuming.
You should do that because it gets pretty wild over there sometimes.
It really does.
From because movies, it is TV to video games.
It is by nature tangential. Tangent. Am I saying that right?
Tangential.
Tangential. There you go. There it is. Yeah, it is by nature that. So it really it's fun.
Because this show is very structured and streamlined. In case you haven't noticed.
Well, I'm saying we go against the grain on this. We do have a format, but it is we go and do our own thing a lot. Mm-hmm. But I'm saying like the What Are We Watching is made for that. Instead of fighting against a format, we're working with it. So it's fun times. I'm saying it's fun times. Join the Patreon. Check it out pretty much every week.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Unless Tucker forgets to edit and upload it.
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
Every now and again. Can we also talk about the fact that the MacGuffin in this movie is called the BET?
Yeah, I think that's great.
Pretty funny.
I kind of love it. And I absolutely forget what it stands for.
BET did not exist as a network at that time, if I recall.
It stands for, in this movie, it stands for Broadcast Energy Transmitter, is what it stands for in this movie. And apparently it is the thing that you need to turn the entire world into...
It's an EMP.
People, basically.
Well, it's a reverse EMP, isn't it? Like, it gives everything energy instead of taking it away?
Man, I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. I just thought the pew-pews were cool.
So BET launched as a full-time network on July 1st, 1983. So it is coming up on its 40th birthday here in just a couple weeks.
Couldn't just let me be right for a minute, could you, Steve?
No.
Not if I can help it.
No, you know what? I always say it's always better to know. So yes, thank you I was looking it up as well. I was going to say something too. I'd almost gotten to that point. Looks like the network launched in January of 1980, actually.
As a USA Network timeshare, but as a full channel.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's cool. I didn't know about it until like the early 90s is when we got it on cable.
Right, because I don't think it was a part of particularly in the Midwest. I don't think it was a part of a lot of cable packages at that time.
I miss 106th and Park. You guys ever watch 106th and Park?
Nope, I don't know.
It was like TRL except for on BET, so it was all hip hop and R&B videos, and it was so good.
Right on.
Anyway, 106th and Park is rad. Go watch it. It's not on, but if you can somehow go watch it.
I'm sure there's old episodes of it on the internet, because that's what the internet is for, is old episodes of shit that you're just like, I don't know where to find this. Oh, I don't know. I'll Google it on the internet and see if anyone else has it. And look, a lot of the times it's out there. Yeah. You can find shit on YouTube all the time, man. The other day, I remembered a show that I used to watch on Nickelodeon called Wienerville.
Yes, with the guy with the face, and he had the little
hands. Yeah,
dude.
And so I went and Googled that, and you better believe there's all sorts of Wienerville clips on YouTube.
Yes,
so that's a rabbit hole you can go down if you want to. I don't know.
Wienerville is the shit.
Old Nickelodeon shows, that's just a huge rabbit hole you can go back down.
Absolutely.
Yeah, dude. I on some Hey Dude for a minute.
Discovered some audio from the unaired Angry Beavers finale, where they talk about, basically they just make fun of Nickelodeon the entire episode. And why and how they're canceled. Like, basically they get notice that they're canceled and then they have to figure out why. And they basically just shit on Nickelodeon for 15 minutes. It's great.
Yeah. And for some reason Nickelodeon execs didn't like that. Wonder why.
Can't imagine.
Because they were too busy being that one guy that they did the documentary on. That was weird with kids.
Oh, yeah,
that guy that really liked feet.
Yeah,
that
guy. They were busy doing that instead.
Yeah, that guy's disgusting.
Yeah,
he was on that show, Head of the Class. Remember Head of the Class?
I do.
I do.
He was an actor on that show.
I had the board game based on that show.
He was also an actor in a movie that we can no longer cover on this podcast called Good Burger. He was in that movie as well.
True.
I'm so excited for the sequel. I can't wait. I just wrote that song for this moment in the podcast, so get to copywriting that, please, so no one steals it.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. But yeah. So I don't know what else we got to say about G.I. Joe. We've gone on for about an hour. What else we got to say about
G.I. Joe is there. He's a real American hero. That's all I have to say.
He's fighting who, Tucker? There it is.
Yeah. There's some video games, guys. Did you know that?
What?
You think a toy line franchise movie like this would have video games? You bet your ass.
I would rather not bet my ass, but
well, I mean, you could because it's a pretty safe bet.
Okay.
Yeah, you wouldn't be losing anything, Steven. You're good.
All right. Well, I don't have much to lose, so.
So we get the first game in 1983 on the Atari 2600, G.I. Joe Cobra Strike.
Yes.
It is only loosely based on the toy line.
Oh, it's an Atari 2600 game. Like, it's loosely based on nothing. So, like,
yeah, pretty much.
It's like a couple, like, dots, like, doing maybe something that's recognizable.
And I mean, their screenshots look like it's just a giant cobra in the middle of the screen.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, no, I mean, it was published by Parker Brothers back when they were doing video game publishing before they got into the board game business.
Huh.
So yeah. Then in 1985, we get G.I. Joe Real American Hero for the Apple II and Commodore 64. Yeah, that's just you're just a member of the G.I. Joe team fighting Cobra.
Some bleeps and some bloops.
Some bleeps and some bloops. Then it's kind of weird. We get into like it was just Action Force games, which is what G.I. Joe was called in Europe.
Right.
So it's just a couple of Action Force games in 1987.
Was there not an NES game? I could have sworn there was an NES game.
We're getting there. So yeah, then like I mentioned, there's the two Action Force games, one in 1987, one in 1988. I can't tell if they were only released in Europe. I have to imagine they were, since they're not labeled G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure we ever got those two, but they were available for the Commodore 64 and the Amstrad CPC, whatever the fuck that is.
Amstrad.
I want to see a game where Snowjob and Beachhead team up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Fire
they just call it,
but they're both doing fellatio.
Call it Snowjob and Beachhead double team.
There you go.
That's the name of that game.
Which I don't know. So funny.
69.
So it's weird. I don't know. Maybe Snowjob is the new, Tundra-based character, because in the next game in 1991, the actual one that you were talking about, Tucker, the one for the Nintendo Entertainment System, has a character named Blizzard, who's pretty much dressed exactly like Snowjob. So
yeah, just because they had already done like a snow character didn't mean they couldn't do other ones. There were multiple characters that were similarly themed, just with different silly names. Because,
I mean, that's the G.I. Joes would just take on whatever threat was popular. So you would have to have a number of Joes equipped for that particular job.
That's true.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, this one looks like a mix between Contra and Metal Gear.
Oh, nice.
So
top down or side scrolling?
Side scrolling. That's the Contra aspect, and then it looks like there's other elements that make it a little bit like Metal Gear. So
nice.
That makes sense. Then in 1992, we get G.I. Joe: The Atlantis Factor.
Ooh, that sounds cool.
Where they explore the wonderful world of Atlantis.
Hail Atlantis.
Atlanta.
So that one was also only available for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Even sports the Nintendo approved seal in the corner of the
box official
art.
Seal.
Yeah. Did Wetsuit get a prime role in that one, or
he does
in that one?
Yes. There are several playable characters: General Hawk, Roadblock, Wetsuit, Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, and Duke.
There you go,
Duke, a kick-ass Duke.
And then finally, we have, at least of the original, cartoon G.I. Joe. In 1992, we get G.I. Joe: Real American Hero, which is just so this one was released in arcades. So this was an arcade game.
I know this one.
Third person rail shooting game. Yeah, and you're one of 4 G.I. Joe operatives. You could up to 4 people at once. And yeah, it was one of the first rail shooters, I think. So
not common.
No, yeah,
I only saw it a few times.
Yeah, they were super rare. I do
specifically remember that game.
Yeah, I probably only saw it once or twice because I was a big arcade guy in the 90s.
They had it at the Putt Putt on Washington Street over there by where the Movies 8 used to be.
And that's probably where I saw it. Yeah, never had any desire to play it, but I remember the cabinet. So
it's pretty rad.
But yeah, after this, we don't see another G.I. Joe game until 2009. It looks like
the Rise of the Cobra tie-in.
Yeah, that's when we get the live action video games, of which there's 5 or 6. So, but we're not talking about the live action G.I. Joe. We're talking about the cartoon. And that's all.
G.I. Joe.
That's all for the video game corner. That's it.
So this movie,
G.I. Joe.
Yo,
Real
Joe,
American hero.
As if I recall in the cartoon, which a lot of 90s cartoons did, they'd be there'd be a transition between scenes, and it was always flash the logo and play a little bit of the theme song, and then go to the next scene. Yeah,
which is kind of how this movie starts. They start with the logo kind of swooping down, and fucking A. This movie was not released in theaters, so there's no box office on this one. It was released direct to video, and it was released, however, on August 14th of 1987, and the box office that weekend looked like this. In number 1 is a little movie called Stakeout. What if there was a stakeout? That's the Emilio Estevez, Richard Dreyfuss two-hander. And then you've also got in second place one of my top 5 favorite Bond movies, The Living Daylights, which is the first.
You love that one.
I do. That's the first of the Dalton Bonds. Dalton, my favorite Bond.
Go check out our top 5 Bonds on the Patreon.
Yep, patreon.com.
Also check out the Rocketeer episode of Disenfranchised for more about Timothy Dalton.
Hell yeah, we go deep on Timothy Dalton that episode, as I recall. Timmy D, my favorite Bond. I love that guy. In third place, Can't Buy Me Love, out new this week. And in fourth place, No Way Out. How does Kevin Costner keep getting work? And number 5 is a little biopic called La Bamba. Para bailar La Bamba.
Wait.
Se necesita una poca de gracia.
Wait, you guys, guess what's coming out on the Criterion Collection in September, you guys? Guess what it is?
La Bamba.
It's La Bamba. I pre-ordered it, you guys. I'm so excited. I also pre-ordered The Trial, Steven, because I fucking love that movie. You got not only do you have Anthony Perkins, you got Orson Welles directing, and it is, in my opinion, the best Kafka novel. The best. Metamorphosis is good. That's his most well-known, I think.
That's the one everyone knows.
But The Trial is so much better because it's like Metamorphosis, but even more vague. And that's what's great about it. And I love that movie, and I love that book, and I love Anthony Perkins, and I love Orson Welles, and I just can't wait. I haven't seen it in so long. It's probably been 10 years since I've watched The Trial. I'm so excited to watch it again. And it's 4K.
It's one of the few that I don't own, so I'm actually very much looking forward to having that on 4K. Oh, I will. Don't worry about it. I will. Absolutely.
I'll let you know how it is, man.
Please do.
I didn't even look the special features on either of those because I don't give a fuck.
No, neither do I.
Got to have them.
Rounding out the top 10, you've got Masters of the Universe. See our previous episode on that. In 3 weeks, it has earned $10 million, so not doing well. It dropped from 2 down to 6 in its third weekend. In 7th place, a little movie called Disorderlies, which I know absolutely nothing about. Starring a group of people called the Fat Boys, apparently.
The Fat Boys. They were a rap group. They did a version of Wipeout, but it was a rap. And they also did a song for Nightmare on Elm Street Part for about Freddy, and Robert Englund was in the video, and it's really cool.
Okay.
Fat Boys, man.
They were footprints of the Fresh Prince doing a rap song about Freddy.
Oh, this one was officially licensed though, and they didn't almost get sued.
Yeah, that's true.
In eighth place,
Fat Boys.
Oh, I'm sorry,
okay, no, just roll right over the Fat Boys, Steven. Not like they were one of the seminal groups in rap history. Don't even worry about it. Like, who cares?
I was trying to roll right over them, but you won't let me. Apparently,
you can't. They roll real well themselves, man.
Because they're fat boys.
That was the whole thing. They were just really, really fat dudes, like just very rotund. And you know what? We respected them for it.
We stand legends.
Yeah,
we stand a fat legend.
We stand a fat legend.
When you put it in your name, you know you deserve respect.
Right. You don't try to hide it up and call it fluffy or something else. It's
no,
call it what it is.
Not. They weren't the big boned boys, Steven.
No. Or the husky boys.
That's the one. That's what, if they were younger, they were the husky boys. When they were like preteens, they were the husky boys. We have fun.
We do. In eighth place, weren't you the one that had to go somewhere? In eighth place,
what are you talking about? I said it was a soft out.
Okay. In eighth place, we have maybe one of the best movies of 1987, RoboCop.
Hell yeah.
Been in theaters for 5 weeks and has earned $38 million so far.
Buy that for $1.
Yeah, you would.
As would I.
I have the Criterion DVD of that, and it is glorious. And then in ninth place, another maybe one of Schumacher's best, The Lost Boys.
It's up there, yeah. It's up there.
10th place, a little movie called Summer School, which has been out for 4 weeks. And then in 11th place, I'm just going to mention this one real quick because it's another one of the best movies of 1987. A little movie called Predator.
Yeah, that one's pretty good, yeah.
An alternate version of Stephen and Brett covered once upon a time.
That's what I heard.
Yes, I seem to recall that.
Yeah, so there you go. That is the box office. The tomatometer score on G.I. Joe: the movie is a 43%. No critics consensus to speak of, but there it is. Not a lot of critics like this one. It has absolutely no Metascore, but it is on Letterboxd, and on Letterboxd the score is a 3.2. Brett, out of 5 stars, how are you rating G.I. Joe: the movie?
1.5.
Hey, Tucker, what about yourself?
8mm is Joel Schumacher's best movie, and I give this movie 2 stars.
I did say maybe Schumacher's best. And I also gave this 2 stars. So there you go.
It's fine. Right,
so I didn't hate it as much as I thought I was going to compared to you guys. So that's not bad.
Well, for me, it was the kind of movie that I would never choose to watch.
Right.
But if I watched it, I would not be mad.
Yeah. I would put this one just above Transformers the movie. Just above. Yeah, I know. You didn't like that one. Yeah, you made that very clear.
Don't make me relive it.
We've made it a point of pride on this podcast to try not punching down, and then Tucker destroyed that in one episode.
Fuck them. Fuck those motherfuckers.
So there we go. That is our episode on 1987's G.I. Joe: the movie. Next week we're gonna wrap up our 80s animation extravaganza with a guest that I think we probably should have on any animated theme month that we ever have. But yeah. So yeah. Any final words, gentlemen?
Nope.
All right. Well, in that case,
COBRA.
You can find us on social media at DisenfranchPod. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, Facebook, and YouTube at DisenfranchPod. You can shoot us an email, disenfranchpod@gmail.com. Or you can swing by our Patreon, patreon.com/disenfranchpod, which we've plugged multiple times throughout the course of this episode. While you're on the internet, swing on by Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Leave us a nice 5-star rating and review so that people can find us and we can build that sweet, sweet audience that we deserve, or we feel we deserve. You can find me. I'm Stephen Foxworthy. I'm your host. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at Chewy Walrus. Brett, where can we find you on the socials?
You can find me on Instagram and Letterboxd at sus_warlock.
Fantastic. Tucker, yourself?
I'm on the YouTubes at Einstein09. I've spelled it before. You guys know what I'm talking about.
If not, go listen to a previous episode. It's fine.
Yeah, if this is your first episode, we hope you liked it well enough to listen to previous episodes, because you have to figure that whole Einstein09 shit out yourself if you don't.
Mm-hmm.
I also have an Insta scam called Tuck Mugs. It's at instascam.com or whatever, at Tuck_. I don't even know how it works. Tuck_mugs. I don't even know how the internet works.
At Tuck_mugs. Yeah, you can tell you have a lot to do with that account.
Yeah, woo! I expect some posts soon, because I have some in the backlog. So
sorry.
Maybe those will get posted soon. Who knows? Nobody knows.
We'll get to them eventually.
That's me. That's it. That's all I do on the social medias. Brett, I can't stand it. I need you to send me your cat right now.
All right.
Are you seeing how cute this motherfucker is, Steven?
It's
Look
fucking
at his
adorable.
little ears. Look at his little ears.
He's just very concerned about what Brett is doing right now.
Like, why don't you love me?
Father.
Why don't you love me?
Father.
Oh, hey, nobody said Happy Father's Day to me yet today, and the day's almost over. Can you believe that shit?
Sometimes Father's Day. I forget you're a father, but yeah, Happy Father's Day.
You. I get that a lot.
Has your child wish you Happy Father's Day today?
In spirit, yes.
Okay, all right on.
She's not good expressing those kinds of feelings,
It's fine. There's a lot of big emotions. It's all good, man. But yeah, that is all for the episode on G.I. Joe, the movie from 1987. So until next week, I am your host, Stephen Foxworthy, for my co-host, Brett Wright, and Tucker. Until next time, now you know, and knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe.
Fuck yeah.